Chris, and I'm back with James from Daily Use of Sports Trivia, and we're going to do my Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 4 Q&A. We did this a couple weeks ago, and you guys gave us some feedback and kind of dug this format. I dig this format. It's a lot less editing, and I like actually having somebody to talk to in the room. And if you're not caught up, if you didn't check out the last one, James is kind of a Game of Thrones newbie, but he's going to be reading the questions directly from the comment section of the Episode 4 review that I just released yesterday. Going to get some random questions. I don't know what's coming, but I do want to talk a little bit about, at the end of this, the whole Dany thing about being fireproof. Still some confusion there based on the books as well. Ivan Enfinger.
He says, Chris, do you think Bran will try and visit the Tower of Joy by himself and end up amongst the others? It would explain how he gets there and Mira not being able to wake him. Thanks for another amazing video. We all look forward to them. If you have time to try out the Amino Game of Thrones app, it's awesome.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm on Amino, by the way. So I have checked out that app. I've been on it for 3, 4, 5 weeks now. So I'm on there. Smokescreen, I believe, is my username. But as far as the question goes, yeah, I think Bran is going to be up to something just based off the fact that last episode when he had the vision at the Tower of Joy, that he did yell out "Father," and Ned turned around and heard him apparently, or he heard something, so he's not sure. So then, of course, he was asking Bloodraven, you know, what's in the tower? And of course, a lot of people are saying Bloodraven's trying to hide something from him, but I don't believe he's trying to hide something if he took him there in the first place, right?
Right.
I think that he's going to probably either try something himself, and that's what we're going to see with the White Walkers, and maybe Bloodraven's there, maybe he's not. But I think him grabbing his arm is what keeps him kind of trapped, and we're going to see Mira try to wake him up. You know, as far as the others and the White Walkers and their powers, we just don't know a lot about them. We don't have a POV chapter in the books about them. They're called the others, right? Because we don't know nothing about them, and they're like different from us, and that's the whole point, I think.
I was going to say that's pretty cool to keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, he literally wrote them as the others because they're not like us. They have to be bad, you know. So we don't really know nothing about them, but it does indicate that they have some kind of power to either, you know, detect Bran in a vision. Him grabbing him is probably the reason that he can't get out of that particular vision when Mira's trying to wake him up. But I also speculated before in a predictions video with Val that perhaps Bran wargs a White Walker like he does Hodor, and what we're seeing on TV is the Night's King grabbing Bran's arm, but what's really happening is he's grabbing one of his own White Walker's arms because he's, you know, going along doing his thing, looking all badass with his icicle on his back, and then he starts like going, what the hell? Because Bran's literally turning around looking like, what the hell is going on? So maybe the Night King's actually grabbing a White Walker and Bran is warged into him, perhaps. We'll see.
Crazy.
But yeah, either way, we just don't know a lot about them, what their powers are, other than manipulating ice.
This next guy is a Patreon guy, the Snow in Winterfell?
Yes, okay. Mark Joseph.
Mark
AKA
Joseph.
the Snow in Winterfell. Thank you very much for that, by the way.
Okay. He mentions that you are his favorite Game of Thrones YouTuber.
Appreciate that.
And
Thank you.
Then down here he says, Q&A. Who do you think is lying right now in King's Landing? The High Sparrow, Tommen, or Cersei?
Who I think's lying? Everybody. Except, this is a hate triangle what's going on right now. So Tommen's not necessarily lying. Tommen's being manipulated by both sides. And he's just being pulled in all directions. He's actually a nice kid. He's not, you know, fucking Joffrey. So unfortunately, he's getting pulled in all directions. So the High Sparrow's up to something. He knew he was going back to tell his mama, you know, whatever in the hell the secret was. And then she comes in the following scene and says something about Marjorie's Walk of Atonement. But we never got confirmation from the High Sparrow that she was going to have one of those. So maybe that was a lie to get him to tell Cersei that, so she could try to manipulate things. And he is essentially going to have two big armies that hate each other in the same city at the same time. So this is exactly what he wants. He's full of shit, and Tom is going to be kind of the conduit for that. So everybody's lying up in King's Landing. Ain't nobody up there honest in King's Landing. Not a damn soul.
And on behalf of Chris, I want to thank you for the Patreon. Well, bear with me on this one. This is a long one, and there's some things I may mispronounce. This is from commenter David Marino. It says, Q&A. I know some assume she's fireproof, but what if there was magic involved in burning the cause?
Right.
One of the House of the Undying Prophecies in A Clash of Kings states that Daenerys will light 3 fires, one for life, one for death, and to love.
Right.
The fire for life could be the birth of the dragons, and the fire for death could very much be the death of the cause. The fire to love, we will have to wait and see what that will be.
Right. Okay, so yeah, first of all, yeah, I would agree if this was the books, and this fire would be the second fire, but in the show, she did not receive all these visions that she did in the books as far as going to the House of the Undying. This was earlier on. She went into the House of the Undying with the warlocks when they had taken her dragons, and she had like 24, I believe, visions in the books, maybe 26. It was all kinds of stuff, a lot more in depth. So yeah, it was a fire for life, death, and love, and this would definitely be probably the death fire. The first one for life being the dragon hatching in season 1, but I don't think they're really including that prophecy in the show. So as far as the cow's blood, I don't think, and I'd said this in a couple replies already, King's blood really just means Valyrian blood. All right, so when you hear Melisandre saying he's got King's blood, she's got King's blood, let's burn him, you know, or burn her, in Shireen's case, and it will have some kind of magical effect. She really means Valyrian blood, and Valyrians are the original ancestors of the Targaryens. So the cows, there's no evidence that the Dothraki have any Valyrian blood. So in that sense, it wouldn't have mattered about King's blood. But the thing is, what happened in the show, she touched the hot brazier first. Before she knocked them over, she grabbed those and didn't burn her hands. They were fire ass hot. I mean, they had to be. And then she pushed them over. So she started to be engulfed by these flames, I think, before anybody really died. Mm-hmm. So what he's referring to is the difference is the last time that she had this big event where she was unburnt was the dragon hatching in the end of season 1.
Right.
But she had already had a lady named Mirri Maz in the fire burning when she walked into the fire. So blood magic was involved, obviously, in the hatching of the dragons.
Okay.
So the thing with Mirri Maz, though, some people might question this as well. She was a Lazarene. Now, Lazarene is a culture that we know was not taken over back in like ancient history before all this started. They were not taken over by the Valyrian freehold. So there's no reason to believe that Mirri Maz had any Valyrian or King's blood either. So we just really don't know how magic really works. You know, it takes certain kind of blood in some cases for certain spells. I think that though, as far as the show, and I'll get to this more at the end of this video a little bit with the Dany stuff. I just think for the show, she's basically fireproof and it doesn't matter about the whole blood thing.
Okay.
Anyway.
I got to say this. I agree with this one right here.
Uh-oh.
Martin Van Beveren says Lionel Richie for the win.
Hell yes.
I've been alone with you inside my mind, and in my dreams I've kissed your lips 1,000 times.
Lionel Richie.
I love that, Chris. That was so creative,
Yeah, man,
spot on, man.
Well, when you saw, I think everybody was thinking the same thing when you saw that scene, because Tormund was just, you know, he was gnawing on this big old chop.
She was
like, she was like, "What the hell? Ain't nobody ever looked at me like that before." Yeah. But you know, Tormund, you know, he apparently fucked a bear, so ain't gonna be no problem for that. But yeah, no, Lionel Richie's all-time favorite of mine, so that's what came to mind when I thought
it worked perfect, man. The editing there was just awesome, man. This is gonna be a tough one. Mike Jones asks, "Why is your front door open?"
Mike, I live in the country. It should be open. Why wouldn't it not be open?
Yeah.
I don't live in the city where, you know, there's...
Come on down here, over here, up here, wherever you're from, Mike.
Come on over, y'all.
And also, if you saw his dog, you'd understand why he's not afraid to leave his door open. MCC0917 asks,
I remember that one.
Is there such a thing as a good case of herpes?
See, I've had a couple of these already because I said stuck with a bad case of herpes. But yes, in comparison to B, there is. An ulcer, right, or a cold sore goes away, you know? So I would call that a good case of herpes, wouldn't you?
I would.
I mean, you know, no cases.
If you're going to get herpes, that's a good case.
Yeah, and everybody has that, right? I mean, if you get an ulcer or a cold sore, you got herpes, it goes away. The other one don't wash off.
Dude, I love these people. They're so funny. Hassan Ahmed asks, why haven't you talked about Littlefinger joining with the phrase?
So the implication there is some hint, maybe possibly, that Littlefinger is scheming with them. But what I think is going to go down is, now, not that he wouldn't scheme with anybody, because he's out for everything. He wants power everywhere. Right now he's got Harrenhal. He essentially has the Vale through Robin, and now he wants the North through Sansa. Whether that's a marriage with her himself or that's Robin and Sansa, he wants control of these people. He wants them in their back pocket. But Sansa is going to take the Lady Stoneheart arc, which is a character in the books that was Catelyn coming back from the dead, kind of like Jon Snow in a way. But she's going to be going after the Freys. So Littlefinger may help her do that to get her allegiance back. But she's going to be a little pissed off when she meets him next episode because he left her with Ramsay. This may go into another question. I knew there's also a couple other questions I saw earlier. Do you think Sansa, what do you think she'll do with Littlefinger, you know, when she runs into him? At least for show Littlefinger, I don't think he knew how bad Ramsay was. I think he certainly plotted the whole thing for control, but I don't think he really knew how bad Ramsay was, because he even said in an episode before, you know, she got married to him and all that shit happened, that I don't know much about you, and that's a rare thing, because he knows everything about everybody, just like Varys does.
Right.
You know, they're the master of whispers and secrets and information brokers is what they are. So anyway, that's I think that's probably a reference to that, but I don't think he's going to be literally on their side, if that makes any sense.
Right.
They'll be tied up in that storyline, because his and Sansa's crossing over again, and then she's going to want revenge on the Freys. Arya actually may come into that as well, because she'll come back and have to make a decision: is she Arya Stark or is she no one? Which is a whole different thing. But anyway,
Dude, I'm just gonna tell you, I had this permagrin the whole time you've been talking. I've been zoning you out because I see this one right here, and it's from Bad Moonlander.
Bad Moonlander
Says, dude, you are fucking funny. You sound like Kenny Powers at times.
Oh.
Like if Kenny Powers was a Game of Thrones nerd. I do mean this as a compliment, by the way. I've never thought about that, but while you were talking, after I read this,
Right.
I was like, he does sound like Kenny Powers.
Man, I'll take that as a compliment. I love some damn Kenny Powers. I just watched a clip of him the other day again.
Me too.
It was the sports one. That guy comes up and says, you know, I've been training for a triathlon. You probably know something about that. And Kenny Powers like, no, actually I wouldn't. I play real sports. I don't try to be the best at exercising.
I happen to be training for a triathlon right now, so doing a lot of running and cycling, swimming. Well, you know all about that. No, actually I don't. I play real sports. I try to be the best at exercising.
And that's exactly some shit I would say. So I completely take that as a compliment.
And as a matter of fact, guys, Eastbound and Down was filmed in Shelby, North Carolina, which
Yes.
is literally 40 minutes down the road, man.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I love that.
love that fucking show.
Love these names. To goddamn Batman says
That's awesome.
Q&A. Since the show has significantly diverged from the books, do you think the ending to the series will be completely different from the books?
Short answer, no. I think they'll basically do the same ending. Definitely going to be a lot of divergence, and there is already. But we'll basically come back together with the same ending that will be in the books, I think. They have already spoken to George R.R. Martin years ago, I'm assuming, about the ending, the general idea of what he's got planned. So we may see some slight differences, but basically it's going to be the same end game, I think. They can't take these major plot points and change them.
So,
I mean, there's going to be a lot of differences. But
now this brings up something for me, not knowing. Does he not have creative control?
he used to write actual episodes. He used to write 4 episodes of Game of Thrones. He knows that it is TV. You have to cut out so much stuff for time. So yeah, I mean, I guess he's got input, but ultimately he really don't have the final word.
All right, next we got one from Michelle Sullivan. It says, awesome recap. Props for Lionel and Napoleon. I'll give you that too.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Q&A. In season 1, when Ned, Osha, and others heard voices from the Weirwood trees, do you think that was actually Bran going to the past to try and warn them? That's a damn good question.
Yeah, I think, I think there's something to that now. There's been a lot of theories and guesses based off that episode again last week where Ned heard him or heard something.
Yes.
Show only watchers may not know, but in the books there was a very similar scene when Bran was learning to have visions through Bloodraven. He had a set of visions in Winterfell where he went back to the Godswood in Winterfell and he saw his dad sharpening ice, and then it went back a little further in time when he was younger, and back till the founding of Winterfell. But during one of these, he actually says father, and Ned pauses when he was saying a prayer, actually, and that would have been possibly an RLJ reveal. But Ned didn't get to finish his thought because he heard something. And we don't know if he heard the wind or the leaves rustling or what that sounds like to him. So there are now implications now that Bran can affect the past based off of the last episode. So I think that goes into a lot of things. A lot of people bringing up Dany's father, the Mad King, King Aerys II. He went crazy because he said he heard whispers.
Oh, yeah.
So that implicates, Bran perhaps going back in time and doing something there, or maybe somebody else, Bloodraven perhaps himself.
That can bring twists into everything.
Yeah,
almost.
I mean, it goes a lot of stuff. You
can
have
almost use that theory to do a lot of things.
Right. It has a lot of implications because now you have also in the books that little shit Robin. They call him Sweet Robin. I call him Little Shit Robin. In the books, he heard whispers and things. So that implicates, there's something there, and he has actually a weirwood throne. But there's definitely something about it. They wouldn't put that in there in the books or the show if they wasn't going to try to do something in the past or try to affect it somehow, I think. So, but yeah, there's a lot of good theories coming out of that stuff.
Cool. Here's another funny one. Andy Purificato says,
Purificato.
Drogon was late to the Dothraki barbecue, all because Daenerys got sick of stanky old Pycelle and ordered him to light his farts on fire. Apparently nobody told those cows to stop, drop, and roll. I probably mispronounced everything in there.
That was pretty accurate. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that was a big twist though. Drogon not showing up. And she just went off on her own and decided, you know what, I'm just going to kill all these motherfuckers. Now, a lot of people are kind of bitching about that because, the Dothraki hate magic. That's true. So you got to look at it like, okay, they would either try to go and kill her because she's like a witch, right? They enter in their eyes and they don't like witches and magic and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, they also follow strength. And if you can walk out of a damn fire, I mean, that's showing some damn strength, right? So pick one, you go either way, I guess.
Well, this goes right into this one. Xylo the Cat says, I will not listen to anything George R.R. Martin have to say. Daenerys is fireproof! Exclamation points.
Right, so I'll use this to kind of talk about the whole, because I know there was a lot of themed questions here about Dany and being fireproof. So yeah, I mean, in the show it looks like they're going that route because you have 2 fires now that she's completely survived. You have her taking a hot bath in episode 1, taking a steaming hot bath, didn't seem to faze her. Later on when she got the dragon eggs, she was able to pick those up out of hot coals. It looks like to me, in the show at least, they're setting this up as her to be fireproof, and I have no problem with that. I understand that the show's the show and the books are the books. There's a lot of people, though, that are kind of book purists, I guess.
I'm sure.
That have a problem with the show, even though they probably really watch the show, and that's fine. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. The show is based off the books, right? I mean, they're going to diverge, obviously, because the writer's behind and they can't do everything. So this is perfectly fine with me. I think it's cool. If you were a show-only watcher, never heard of any theories in the books at all, it would be very cool. But the problem comes in with the book readers is that in the books, it's kind of unclear though, right? Because George R.R. Martin has said in the past in several interviews, and I believe there was one in probably 1992 or 93, he said, I think people are reading too much into the fire scene with Daenerys when she hatched the dragon eggs because she walked out unburnt. And it was a one-time magical event, basically, what he was saying. Now, he said that, so everybody says automatically, well, no, she's not fireproof.
Okay.
Also in history, in the books, there's a lot of Targaryens that have died by fire. You have the tragedy at Summerhall, which is when Aegon IV died. You had a lot of Targaryens die by fire, period. You had one that went crazy and drank wildfire thinking he would turn into a dragon.
Oh, shit.
You saw Viserys in the show even, and in the books, get a molten crown poured on his head of gold and died by fire, essentially. The problem comes in is when you see that stuff with other Targaryens dying by fire, people can't get it through their heads that there may be a special dragon or special Targaryen. So I don't see the big problem with it. I guess the confusion comes in because even in the books, it's really unclear. Even though George R.R. Martin said Targaryens are not all immune to fire, that doesn't mean some aren't, but the books make it even more confusing because in A Dance with Dragons, Dany almost gets burned again when she's taming Drogon in Daznak's pit. She uses a whip in the books, does it a little differently. It's described as basically Drogon's hot-ass breath, an inferno-type wind that was hot enough to set her hair on fire when she was flying off. But she did not burn, and she thought to herself when she landed later on, it was just like before, as in just like before when I hatched the dragon.
Oh, shit.
So even in the books...
Yeah, that would confuse you.
Even in the book, she's been through this twice now, and at the same time, during that same event, she burned her hands. It's described in the books that her burns are healing, and her hands are wrapped up. But nobody's clear on how that happened. Was it when she pulled a spear out of Drogon? A hot spear? Does it have to do with dragon fire? People don't really know when he shot this flame at her, or breath, or whatever it was. Did she just kind of duck out of the way and it just caught her hair on fire, but didn't fuck with her scalp at all?
Right.
So even book readers have to realize that it's not really clear there either. So George R.R. Martin may have said, yes, all Targaryens are not immune to fire, but that doesn't mean he didn't change his mind. That didn't mean by the time he got to A Dance with Dragons, he hadn't went a different route with her as far as being this special Targaryen. So I wanted to throw that out there because I know that was the big theme this week. A lot of book readers have problems with it. A lot of show watchers don't know what everybody's crying about, right? Because they've never read the books. And people like me who watch the show and read the books and love them both, you know, you just got to realize it is what it is, and this could be completely different in the books. We don't know. We haven't seen the next book yet, but people need to remember that this has happened in the books too. It's just unclear what happened, because when she was flying off in the books, you had people that saw her on fire supposedly. Some people said she was on fire. Some people said just her hair was on fire.
Okay.
But
when she landed,
but she's fine. She landed
herself,
out in the Dothraki Sea with Drogon, and she was thinking to herself, she's bald again.
Just like before.
It was just like before. She's completely bald again. How can your hair catch on fire but your scalp's fine?
You can't.
So either she has this ability at times, perhaps when she's near dragons, perhaps when she truly believes she's, you know, kind of fireproof. Whatever's going on, something's going on even in the books, not just the show. Now the show, it looks like they're making her fireproof all the time. I think that would simplify things instead of having all these kind of iffy moments that can be described in book form. Because again, the whole Daznak's pit thing was very, very confusing because it didn't give you a direct, you kind of had to picture what happened. It's like, did she kind of duck out of the way and then say, no, Drogon, and whoosh, you know, with the whip? We don't really know. So
remember the Pepsi commercial, Michael Jackson's Jerry Curl caught on fire?
Yeah, absolutely.
By God, he got third-degree burns on his scalp.
That's absolutely. And so, I mean, that's the thing. I thought it was pretty badass actually in the show, because to me, everybody, including me, was expecting Drogon to show up and save the day.
Yeah.
We thought this big fire from this hut that we found out from filming news was going to be from dragon fire.
Right.
But she found a way to step up and do it herself. That was a twist in and of itself to me. So I thought it was a badass ending. I mean, it really brought her back in the show because it was kind of dull all season so far.
Right.
We all kind of knew she was being taken with the Dothraki, and she'd eventually come back, and we thought Drogon would go rescue her and save the day.
Well, from now on, is she going to have better parts and better scenes, you think, now?
Well, I mean, it makes her a stronger person for sure, and she can use this parlor trick whenever she wants, I suppose. But again, but we really don't know that yet. Are they going to make her fireproof all the time? Or is it certain occasions when she gets super confident? Or did it have something to do with blood magic? You know, we really don't know. I said it didn't have something to do with blood magic this time in this episode because she grabbed these hot ass braziers first and pushed them down, and all this oil spilled everywhere and it caught on fire. And that happened before anybody died.
Right.
So she would have already been pretty much engulfed in all these
20 teams that people were mentioning.
Right. It would have been so hot in there. You know, I mean, if you go by some basic laws of physics, I know the show ignores physics a lot of times, and they did when how fast this hut caught on fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you got to ignore some of the things. I mean, it's TV after all. If they can step away from the books, put the books aside, they would realize how good this show is. Even, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if
with her being fireproof.
Right. Without whichever direction they go, without the source material. But because you always have the books in mind first, they go back to that and things he said in interviews, because that was probably the biggest question he got when season 1 aired and this girl walked out of the fire with dragons. Is she fireproof? And he basically said, no, not necessarily. But that doesn't mean that things can't change. That doesn't mean that she can't be at certain times. So we really don't know. But it looks to me, just based off the show, that they are making her fireproof all the time.
So I'm really about to show how much I know. Did you say that interview was 1992?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought all this shit was brand new.
No,
I've just been hearing about it since HBO.
Right. I mean, it got popular, or more popular, obviously based off the HBO show.
Man.
Anyway, that's just my rant on the whole, you know, books versus show thing. I mean, that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. Some people say they hate the show because it's, you know, it's going too far away from the books. And I can get that to a degree. I understand that to a degree. But at the same time, I do understand it is TV. When you're reading a book, you have to picture everything mentally, right? You know, when they describe a scene or describe what they're eating or their clothes, so they can't put all that in there. They can't put all these literally thousands of characters in this TV show to make it that complex. So it's just really a simplified. It's a simplified Cliff Notes version of A Song of Ice and Fire. That's the way you got to look at Game of Thrones.
But filmed great. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's visually stunning.
It is. I mean, it wins every award every year. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Well, man, I tell you, I've enjoyed it. I think that's a good place to leave it off. I hope you guys comment and ask to have me back, because I totally enjoy doing this, and I hope you get a little humor out of me not knowing anything about it.
And
I am learning every week.
And two North Carolina country boys, you know, and their slang.
Power.
I play real sports.
Yeah.
I don't care about being the best at exercising.
Well,
now I'm gonna start thinking about that.
Dude, that's awesome.
But no, that's all I had. You know, I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me some questions, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And I did want to touch on the Dany thing though, because I know a lot of people are going crazy this week about the whole, is she fireproof? Is she not? Well, she's not in the books because George R. R. Martin said that she's not. And again, for you book readers, think about Daznak's pit. That was pretty unclear. So it has happened more than once in the books as well.
I guess one final note for me, guys, is last time I did this, several of you guys came over to my channel and watched my videos, commented on my videos, and subscribed. And I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for the exposure.
Oh yeah, no problem. I mean, if you like sports and trivia and random sports facts that you probably never thought you wanted to know, check out Daily Use of Sports Trivia. Dust for short. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Give us some feedback in the comments below. I will be doing my usual review Sunday for episode 5, so check that out. In the meantime, you can click here for the last episode 4 video review I did, which has some of my reactions in it too that people seem to like for whatever reason. And you can also click here for the last video James and I did, which is our first Q&A of the season for episodes 1 and 2. Check that out, let us know what you think. And as usual, guys, thanks for all the support. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. Give us a like if you like what we do here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.